Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Distribution Leader panel, How Distributors Can Use Marketing to Drive Sales, brought to you by Distribution Strategy Group and sponsored by White Cup. Our featured panelists today are Sheila Hernandez, VP of Marketing and Supplier Relations at Summit Electric, Cynthia Lovely, who's the Director of Marketing at Chadwell Supply, and Susan Merlot, founder of the Digital Distributor Program. So thank you so much for joining us. I hope you brought your questions. Please feel free to use the Q&A button to submit them. We look forward to hearing from you so that we can have an even richer discussion. But before we do that, I got to do a little business. This Distribution Leader panel is brought to you by White Cup, the company that helps you dominate distribution sales with a real-time revenue engine. Picture this: you're able to increase your sales team's close rate by 75% and increase revenue by 20% without adding any headcount to your sales team. That's exactly what White Cup empowers companies to do, providing distributors with the tools they need for success. Their CRM with BI is tailored exclusively for distributors, offering intuitive automation that seamlessly integrates with your ERP system. The result? Streamlined processes and greater precision in your operations. So here's your next step. Visit whitecupsolutions.com/DSG. That's for Distribution Strategy Group. whitecapsolutions.com/DSG for a free consultation to unlock your business's potential by integrating your ERP with CRM and BI. They'll analyze your current sales process and provide actionable strategies, harnessing advanced data analysis techniques. Visit whitecupsolutions.com/DSG today and unlock your distribution business's true potential. White Cup, turn data into dollars. So thank you so much to White Cup for making this show possible. We really appreciate it. And now let me bring in our panelists. I'm delighted to introduce Sheila, Cynthia, and Susan. And as they join us, what I'll do is I'll ask them to give us a little background on their careers, what they do today. And we'll do that before we get started with the panel discussion. So Sheila, since you're first on the screen, why don't we start with you?
Sure, thanks, Ian. And first of all, I'm going to say I'm in an airport, so bear with if there's sounds. I apologize, and I'll unmute when I'm not talking to keep that at a minimum. So I'm Sheila Hernandez. I work for Summit Electric Supply, and I started there 36 years ago when one of the original founders, Vic Jerry Jr., went down to the University of New Mexico and was looking for a student to do a summer project. And so I was graduating from my undergraduate, moving to my MBA that fall. And so I was the perfect candidate. They sent me out there. He hired me for the summer. And I worked on my project that summer. And then come fall, when I was going to start my MBA program, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I don't really remember talking about it. I just kind of kept coming back. And did that for the next 2.5 years while I was working on my program and then still working at Summit. And then when I graduated, talked about, was I going to stay or was I going to go? And it was such a fabulous opportunity to work on the ground floor of a company that had not had marketing before. So I stayed, and like I said, that was 36 years ago. And it's truly been my honor to work for Summit. It's a truly great company, and I've had a number of roles and been able to really be a part of a great team that has grown a great company. And today I'm Vice President of Marketing and Supplier Relations.
Yeah, and I bet you have a whole shelf full of awards that Summit has won for marketing over the years. I mean, there must be dozens of them, right, Sheila?
Yeah, we've got quite a few, and like I said, it's a great team. So it's been a great ride.
So 36 years, are you considering spending your career there?
I thought maybe it might be a good idea.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you for joining us. Next up on the screen is Cynthia Lovely, Director of Marketing at Chadwell Supply. Hi, Cynthia. How are you today?
Good. Hi, Ian. How are you?
Good. Give us a little bit about your background, please.
Okay. Quickly, I kind of started in marketing more with IT companies and kind of software space. I spent a few years on the consulting side of marketing, and then I don't really remember how, landed at Chadwell Supply in 2017. We were very much building and growing at the time, but I kind of had no idea what we were in for. And it has been a wild ride. We are doing some fun things. We've really had an amazing team build up, a really exciting marketing strategy to support an amazing, hardworking sales team. And we've been able to do a lot of fun stuff. So we're getting to be a big company, but still doing all that fun stuff we were doing when we were building. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and what does Chadwell do? I mean, I think Summit Electric obviously sells electrical supplies. What does Chadwell do?
We really sell anything that goes into an apartment building, anything that apartment management, apartment maintenance would need. And we sell exclusively to multifamily, to apartment communities and management, but almost anything except the actual building tools. We don't do building supplies, but just the maintenance supplies.
Excellent.
For their customers.
Sure. Great. Okay, good. And Susan, you're up. How are you today? And tell us a little bit about your background. I know you've been working with distributors for a long time.
Yes. Hi, Ian. Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Susan Merlo, and I specialize in digital sales and marketing strategies. My main focus is on, I guess, bridging that gap between traditional sales and digital marketing. That's pretty much where it's been since before COVID. And before COVID, that was a nice to have. It wasn't really necessary because traditional sales were on the road and it was easy to get face-to-face meetings. Post-COVID, buyers changed their buying habits and they found out they can save time by going online and researching their products there before speaking to a salesperson. So what we focus on is that whole period before they actually pick up the phone to call a salesperson. We make sure that they do pick up that phone, or that the salesperson knows the activity and the behavior that's taking place on their website. I probably should say that our target client, our ideal client, are companies that would love to have a Sheila or a Cynthia on board, but they might not be big enough. Maybe they can't afford it. Maybe they can't find those people yet. So we'll either do done with you services where we'll come in and help them build that team and train them. Or if that's not in the cards for them, we do a lot of done for you services where, you know, for the price of one person, you have our whole team to come in and take care of everything for you. That's my commercial, I guess. I'm sorry. But yeah,
that's okay.
That's
So, but you raise an interesting point here, Susan. I want to go and ask the other two about it. So, so Sheila, we'll start with you. Are you seeing the same thing that Susan's talking about? And I've heard about this as well, where now that we have more people working from home, it has in some cases changed the seller buyer point of contact. Are you seeing that change at all at Summit?
Yeah, I think we are. We've had a lot of talk about it. What does the future look like? And, the effects of COVID and how long it was going to stay. And, we've certainly seen.
Oh, you just cut out there, Sheila. I'm not sure why. No. Tell you what, why don't you work on that for a minute? And Cynthia, why don't you pick it up? So, what are you seeing in terms of, is there a changing nature of the point of contact between the seller and the buyer in multifamily, or the buyer still on site?
I think we're seeing less of that in multifamily, largely still on site. There is definitely a trend toward they're managing things a little bit more centralized in a lot of companies, especially the larger management companies. But really, we struggled with that during COVID, obviously, because a lot of our customers literally just shut down, closed offices. I guess everyone did. But really, we are back on the road face to face as much as we were before, although there are some definitely different, like I said, changes to how they manage that centrally, like more tools, more procurement systems in place to kind of better manage the billing and those kind of logistics of that. But a lot of the relationship is still very much face-to-face for us.
So in the centralization of purchasing, is that just a function of companies acquiring each other so they get bigger, so they centralize purchasing?
A little bit of it is, I believe, for sure. And in multifamily, things change quite a bit. We have a lot of change with our customers constantly buying and selling, and management companies change and merge and change systems. And so a lot of that procurement stuff is in place to just help them better manage what's happening on site. But what we find also is even when it's in place, it might not match what's happening on site, or there's still a lot of that decision is being made, in person, and our people are definitely still on the road every day.
Okay, I think Sheila, we've got your audio back. So did you want to pick up where you left off?
Yeah, I apologize. I don't know. My phone just cut out, so I'm assuming airport interference. I don't know. So anyway, yes, we have definitely realized that, from a number of the perspectives. Are people getting in to see customers? The number of customers that aren't even in the office, and that even if you are able to get in to see them. Also, I think the willingness to come to events or to do events like whether it's trainings or whether it's things like open houses or a lot of the traditional things that distributors used to do, that I think there's not the willingness to do a lot of that. We really wondered about how much was going to come back. To be honest, more came back than I thought, but it's still, I think, a significant impact on how distributors have done business.
Interesting. Okay, right. So I think that's kind of what I've heard in the marketplace is more people are back at work than we may have thought would go back on site, but there's still a significant portion who are working from home or from other locations, right? And so, Susan, with your clients, is that changing the way that marketing has to support sales?
Yeah, not for all verticals. For some verticals like Cynthia's, building supplies, those customers still want to see their sales people. But what is changing now is even though they want to see the salespeople, they want to do research online. They want to, and they have more options now to purchase, right? A lot of people sell the same products. So we have to make sure as marketers that we are convincing them online. Let me put it this way, that we're delivering online the same information that a salesperson would face to face. And like a salesperson, if he sees a mom and pop, he has one message to deliver. If he's seeing an institutional customer, it's a totally different message, but it might be the same product. So good marketing will delineate, the message to that target market. And I think that's the big change that we're seeing in at least in digital marketing, more segmenting and more targeted messages.
Interesting. And Cynthia, what is your sort of approach to supporting the sales department? And because I think what I just heard you say, Susan, is that it was really about making sure you have the right materials or the right messaging, depending on how you're segmenting to address your target segments, right? So whether it's that small mom and pop or institutional customer, you need the support, the data, the information. And Cynthia, is that how you look at it with your sales force, giving them the tools to sell properly based on who they're calling on?
Yes, absolutely. And even our sales team itself is pretty much segmented in a lot of ways to speak to, certain customers. Certain teams will speak to, the more the management company side, where on the sales team side, most are out speaking to the on property on site. But then we also have, customers and who are doing renovations, and we have a team strictly dedicated to them. So we're working on what kind of collateral, what kind of support, what kind of material and messaging do each of those need. Maintain the brand and consistency, but speak to the different needs that they're going to be talking to. It's a constant collaboration with those teams and a focus, but trying to keep it focused, like I said, on the consistent message.
Sheila, you want to add anything to that?
Thing, yeah, definitely. One other thing is, since we know that a lot of buyers are doing a lot of research online these days and finding some of the traditional information that salespeople would bring to them, then I also think it's really important that the sales team is taking what they're doing to a higher level, as in, bringing packages, bringing integration, bringing services, these types of things, because a lot of the fundamentals are being found online. So you have to offer something different, something more advanced in order to still be relevant.
Yeah. And Sheila, while you're at it, does marketing have responsibility for digital at Summit, and does it also have responsibility for pricing?
Marketing does not have responsible for pricing. We have a pricing team that does that. Digital is, yes, the customer-facing digital is advertising.
Got it. Okay, got it. And Cynthia, how do you manage digital in pricing at Chadwell, and what's the relationship between marketing and those functions?
Digital is part of our marketing team.
Okay.
Team within the team. We also have pricing analysts within the marketing team, but we work very closely with our purchasing team. So we definitely have a hand in that strategy. But it is, the relationships are also kept within marketing, but also maintained in purchasing. It's very hand in hand.
Got it. Okay. And Susan, with your clients, what are you seeing as a best practice or as a most common practice? Are pricing and digital part of marketing? Is it a collaboration? How's it organized?
I've never seen pricing be part of marketing.
Okay.
I've always seen it as, a separate arm, more analytics, that kind of thing. And then from there it goes into sales with, their boundaries or, what they can sell.
The limits, the controls, right? Yeah. Okay. And well, a lot of times at marketing conferences, I don't know if this is still the case because I haven't been to one in a while, but it used to be that there'd be these sessions on, sort of addressing the conflict between sales and marketing. And there was this sense that sales was getting the credit, marketing was doing the work, et cetera. Is that still a thing? I mean, and do you have to, what is the relationship status between distributor, marketing, and sales department? I mean, and let's start with you, Susan, since you work with multiple companies. I mean, have we achieved peace between those departments, or is there still a ways to go? And how do you establish peace if you don't have it?
Well, we're getting there. If there's still that conflict, it's got to stop, because especially now with digital, marketing has so much more to bring to the table, and they have better tools. So years ago, the big argument was from the sales side, they'd say, oh, we never get good leads. And then the marketing will say, well, you don't call our leads. And actually the salespeople were right. They weren't getting good leads. But now with the way digital works, and I see this especially at Summit, they capture the lead and bring them on a journey so that when they pass that lead over to the salesperson, and I don't know when they do that at Summit, but hopefully that lead is a little bit more nurtured. And if you have, tracking in place, that lead is so much more valuable now because of what marketing put in place to nurture it and capture, a little bit of intel, what they're looking at, what their behavior is, what they're interested in. And now they can hand salespeople these leads that are warm or even hot.
Okay, so Sheila, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Susan. I thought you were done.
It's okay. Yeah.
Okay, so Sheila, what is the path there? Because I mean, I think we all know giving a bunch of names to salespeople just because somebody downloaded some information, that doesn't make it a lead. It's just a name, right? So
yeah.
Are you guys doing some nurturing to make it or some vetting, maybe is a better way to say it, with your contact data?
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing is the I'll call it even the evolution of marketing as a whole, but particularly within industrial and electrical. But really knowing what it is we want the lead to be. Looking at what the ideal customer is for what we're doing. So different parts of the sales team is looking for different things. So what we do for one part of the team and how we craft the characteristics of what we're looking for is different than what we might do for another part of the sales team. So I think as it's gotten more sophisticated, both in our understanding of it and also in just the tools that are available to do that, then I think that has helped a lot. Also, I think, the marketing tools, with digital marketing, it's much more analytical. It's much easier to see what's happening, to define what success is, and to actually put metrics around it, as opposed to a lot of things that we did for many years, which was really a lot more about, maybe customer relationships and that type of thing. Really moving to where we're working to drive revenue, to grow customers, to acquire new customers. And it's so much easier with digital marketing to put metrics around that to understand what your success is. And so that also helps, tell the story about why we're doing what we're doing.
Excellent. And Cynthia, what about your relationship with the sales department? I mean, did you have to win them over? Or do they? How do you make sure that you have a good, positive, healthy relationship with your sales counterparts?
I would say we have an amazing relationship, and it's very intertwined, and we're very cooperative and have always worked very closely together. But there is that element of winning them over to new tools and new processes. And here we can bring you this. And they're like, well, why do I need that? Right. Until they realize what this can do for us and for you. So there's that, it's a bringing along, and change is hard. And marketing, especially the last several years, is anything but constant change, right?
Yeah.
And the sales team sometimes doesn't see the need for more data or more tools or more information up front. But so it's a constant education, and but it's a partnership that we really value. We appreciate them so much.
So I'm glad you mentioned change, because Ron, who's a friend of the show, has sent in a question, and it's all about the biggest change we've seen in a long time. He asks, what are your thoughts on leveraging AI in your roles? And how has it changed your day-to-day? And I might add, not just how has it so far, but how do you think it will in the future? Cynthia, you want to start with that one?
It's interesting, and I'm very curious to see where it goes. I feel like we're just at the beginning stages of what this is going to be. But we're really trying to figure out what are the right tools and how to better use the data that we have. But I'm very adamant that it needs to be used responsibly, and AI should enhance personal relationships. It should never take away from or even or try to replace. And I think that's a lot of the fear. And I think the fear is warranted, because if it's not used correctly, it is kind of a wrench in the works. But I think if we proceed cautiously and apply it correctly, with the goal always being to enhance those relationships, I think it'll be exciting to see where we end up.
So just to go out of order for the fun of it, Susan, I'm gonna go to you, and then we'll come back to you, Sheila. So Susan, what do you think? How is AI going to, or how has it changed your day-to-day work? And if it hasn't yet, how might it in the future?
Well, it hasn't changed my work that much. Sometimes I get good ideas I use Google's Bard, and it has some good ideas on how to, for a subject line, or, how to say something differently in writing. But I think the biggest impact on distribution that I've seen, and that I expect it to continue, is the machine learning piece of it. The algorithms being built, the way it can contribute to that predictive sales pattern where, this person bought this, and they'll also want this. We see it, I think we've seen it in a few products. I don't want to name any products, but I think that we're going to see that more and more.
Yeah, Sheila, how about you? At Summit, are you using AI yet in your day-to-day work, and where's it going to go?
Yeah, so we certainly have a number of software packages that are using AI today. I mean, I will tell you that in the marketing department, we use ChatGPT to, test out, how it can change a slogan, or,
Right.
things that we're doing or whatever. But, we, on the bigger picture, certainly, I think where we're really looking at it is, company-wide, what can we do to enhance the sales team? What can we do to enhance customer, like things like on search on summit.com, a search that our salespeople use, how can we use it to get better on that? Certainly in marketing, we've talked about, can we use it at all to help us get better leads? How can it be used in the things that we're trying to do? And, Ian, we just went to DSG's conference on AI. We had 3 of us go about a month ago or so, and it really sparked a lot of ideas with us in what could we do and how could we do it? And then the question really is where to start, because there's so many opportunities, is where you really get the biggest bang for the buck.
Yeah, thanks for that. Actually, yeah, I appreciate the call out on the conference. I heard our conference was great. I had COVID and missed the whole thing. um, but I was supposed to MC the show, so my poor business partner got, with 10 minutes notice, had to become the event MC. But we got great reviews, so thanks for that. Yeah, and I think it's to be played out, right? I mean, I think it's really hard to predict what's going to happen. It's just like, if you had asked, what's going to happen with digital back in 1995, you might have had some directionally correct guesses and some wildly wrong guesses, and then there'd be all kinds of stuff that you couldn't even fathom that was going to happen with digital, right? And that's where we're at, I think, with AI right now. But speaking about digital, what is the role of digital in growing sales, right? And I don't just mean email offers, because I mean, obviously distributors often do that, and that's great. But in terms of building relationships, or trying to get new customers, or trying to communicate to get more transactions from existing customers, or trying to reach out to customers who stop by to find out why. I mean, do you use digital in a strategic way to manage your customer, database, and try to build sales out of it? I don't know who wants to start with that one. I'll have to call on someone.
I can.
Go ahead, Sheila.
No,
Thanks.
I can start. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we are doing a variety of things around digital, really trying to focus on how can we use it to engage with new customers, and how can we use it to attract them in, and now to start to build a relationship. So I see digital as a couple of different fronts. For existing customers, particularly large customers, I see it as a lot about what they do with our digital platforms is more of what I call self-service. But then how are we using the digital mediums to reach out, to connect, and, well, first of all, to find new people and engage them to come in, and then how do we attribute that to the programs that we're doing so we know what's successful and what's not successful? So right now, our digital programs are really focusing on identifying new, particularly small to mid customers, and how are we using it to keep those existing customers that we might be starting to lose, so churn. And then how are we using it to broaden the base all the way around? Because with digital marketing, you can talk to a lot of people. But again, you don't want to just blast it everywhere. So how are you defining what you're trying to do, getting it to the relevant people, and making it interesting enough to get them to engage with you?
Yeah, and so I like that, because you're really talking about using digital to manage customer life cycle, right? And so we'll go to Cynthia and then Susan. But Cynthia, what's your view on digital, and responding to what Sheila said, in terms of using digital to dig for prospects and communicate with existing customers, but also using digital as a buying platform for existing customers rather than a marketing platform, and then communicating offers? It's an interesting mix. What's your view on all that?
Well, we don't use digital as much for lead generation, only because our customer target is really very narrow. But in the last several years, as we've expanded geographically, one of our biggest focuses has been on just distributing that brand and distributing the message consistently from Miami to Las Vegas, which in the last few years is relatively new for us. We were relatively contained, and now we're speaking to people in entirely different markets. Where we were in an area where we were pretty well known, pretty much familiar brand, we're going into markets where we're really not heard of in the last few years. And so it's been very much a brand building focus. But I think also our biggest drive in digital right now is employee advocacy, really just empowering them to carry the brand, because they're really the best channel for our message by far is our people. And so we're really trying to build them tools and get them the information as easily as possible that they can share, because it's so much more amplified when they share than anything we could do from the brand. That's definitely been our focus. We have not really dived into purchasing options through digital, through social. It's still, a lot of that is because of some of the procurement and systems and parameters that we have to fit our ordering into. We haven't really connected those quite so much when we drive back to our website, but it's all kind of going to live there, at least for the foreseeable future. But it's really carries our brand, and not just our brand, but the personality of our brand more than the message, because our social really is, we get the opportunity to interact with our customers, which is a treat for us in marketing, because the sales team gets that opportunity all the time. But when something comes in through digital, we can interact in that way. We can carry that message, be that first point, which is a huge treat for us. So it allows, I love the interaction that we can get directly with customers that helps us learn more about them while they're trying. We want them to learn about us, but the real value is when we can learn about them through our interactions that way.
So did you say that you're giving customer-facing employees content that they can send to their customers? Is that part of what I heard you say?
We have been working on that. Yes, we're
Wow.
testing out a few different ways, but we're trying to funnel that kind of content as easily as possible, that things that they can just kind of pick up and turn around and share, because they're busy, they're on the road, we're cranking out content all the time.
Yeah.
And if we're not saying, here's something new, I will literally send something at least once a week that says, here's something new you can share, with links they can click to just pop it right out to LinkedIn or shoot an email out from there, because that means more coming from them, I think, than it ever will from just coming from the brand.
Wow. Okay. So Susan, here's a lot for you to respond to, right? So you've got managing customer lifecycle. So that's prospecting with digital and communicating with existing customers and giving them, online tools to buy from on a regular basis. You've got giving customer-facing employees content on a regular basis that they can share in a strategic way, right? I mean, there's a lot going on with digital. What are you seeing in the marketplace with your clients?
Well, let me start by saying, I think people that are on the call, their head is exploding after the answers to that question, because that was a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, for us, we barely scratched the surface of, like, if we put all of that together, we do just a small piece of that because we're very focused, on lead generation and that. We'll do Marcom stuff too, but I love the lead generation. I will just throw in two things that I can add that I think would be of value. The first is that the nice thing about digital is it's measurable. If it's digital, you can measure it. You know if it works, you know if it doesn't work, and you can make these little tiny changes and see what tweaks are making a difference. So that, to Sheila's point, that's a really valuable thing. To Cynthia's point, it sparked a thought that I had there. You asked about AI, and we're starting to see AI programs using AI, I guess I should say, that will take that social message. Say if I sent it to you, Ian, and I said, can you please publish that? The AI would put it in your voice, and you would just have to hit a button. So you don't have to rewrite it. You don't have to rethink it. Not everyone has the same exact message. So that's my late addition to what will we see with AI in marketing.
Yeah, it is interesting to think about, like, if you have an email going out to 25,000 customers, if you could ask AI to look at the demographics and purchase history and write a unique email to each customer. I mean, that's coming, right? Maybe it's here now. I don't know. But okay, but I want to push back, not push back. I want to explore this notion of measurement a little bit, because you can measure like open rates and click-through rates, right? But it's really hard to measure ROI in my experience, in part because a lot of times what you're doing digitally doesn't result in a sale through the shopping cart, right? So, I mean, like the content that you're giving your customer-facing employees, Cynthia, that may result in calls to them to place orders, and it doesn't get attributed to marketing. It doesn't get attributed to the website. And Sheila, you and I have had this conversation numerous times about, a lot of people shop online, but then they don't buy online, and they've got various reasons why they want to send you a PO or a call because they think they can get a better price or whatever. So even though they use the website and shop the heck out of it and put together their order, the order didn't go through the shopping cart. And Susan, you and I have had the same conversation actually. So, is there and I know there's no secret formula, there's no, golden rule, but how do you think about measurement of marketing and digital in an environment where you can't really precisely measure the sales effect of the programs that you invest in? I don't know, Sheila, I know it's a hard question, but we've had this conversation. You want to kick us off here?
Yeah, sure. So, I think there's a variety of different areas that, there's what I'll call the soft ones, and then there's the hard, tangible ones. So, large companies, in my opinion, large customers are probably not going to buy through the website. They have their own procurement systems. Maybe they want punch out, maybe they want EDI, those types of things. So you're not going to get clicks with them. Small to mid, I think, is where the opportunity is at if you're truly looking for clicks. You also have self-service, so things like online bill pay and all of that, which is very beneficial to the customer, but you can't really attribute it to actual dollars. So we've been doing a lot with investigating, things like number of new customers. Oh, and let me mention one more thing. Things like clicks and views and time on page and those type of things. I think they're very helpful for us in marketing, but I don't think it really resonates very well with either leaders or, sales or whatever. It's helpful to us, but I don't think it's going to convince anyone that our programs are actually being successful. So looking at, some of the characteristics or the traits that we've been kind of exploring and running by people in the business, things like we ran a digital campaign and how many new customers came in, new accounts that were set up or new customers that bought. I don't really care how they bought, but did they buy, whether they set up an account or came into the counter or whatever, but new. Then number of customers that were leaving, were we able to engage some of those customers, and particularly on the product line that we were marketing. So not looking at everything, but we've been taking, a control period ahead of time, and then the period that we ran the digital marketing, and then what were we able to see either in new customers or churn or in sales. Maybe it's not the exact sales of the product that we were promoting, but is it the line overall? So recently we sat down with 5 campaigns that we did, and we were going through our logic with our CFO, because I figured if I could get, if he could say, yep, I see what you're doing, and yep, I buy into it, then that's a big positive. And as we talk, through it, he's like, I get it. I think there's validity here. So that to me shows that we're starting to be on the right path.
Got it. Okay. Right. And I mean, my slogan when I was in the corporate world is numbers don't exist unless the CFO says they do. Right. So I think to sit down with the CFO and in a consultative way and say, look, I need your help figuring out the measurement, explaining the difficulty of the problem to you so they don't take an oversimplified approach. It's like, well, if it's not in the shopping cart, it doesn't count. Well, that's easy to say, and it's also completely inaccurate. Right.
I agree.
And
I agree.
so I like that you're having those conversations. So Cynthia, we'll go over to you next. So talking about measurement of digital specifically and measurement of marketing in general, how do you go about it? How do you make the business case that what you're doing is providing a return, or do you need to do that?
I think I would say that I think it's important to keep in mind that a lot of what we will measure in dollars, we will never be able to tie back to what we're doing. And we just have to accept that to some degree. That might change, but at the moment, we just can't make that direct link, even where we think it's there. I think it's important to select what we can measure that we think is going to move the needle, and what we want out of a campaign or what we want out of a program. We do a super cart giveaway every other year, and we've been able to measure year over year, what new customers entered this year that didn't enter before, what new customers set up accounts to be able to enter, that came to us from this campaign, but then also over the next year, did their sales increase? Did their buy-in increase? Did their, communication increase? Just as using that as a kickoff, but we're selecting the pieces we can measure that we feel are moving the needle. And then we do a lot of, in-person events and trade shows and things that we will never be able to tell all the effort that goes into those things. Does that really measure out to anything? It's hard. It's impossible. But a lot of that comes back with our core customer as marketing being our sales team, and where they feel supported, where they feel like they have the tools, where they can see that it's making a difference in those one-on-one conversations. I know that's sort of anecdotal, but again, that is our goal also. So a lot of that stuff, we have the luxury of relying on a lot of that in our situation and with our sales team. That kind of motivates a lot what we do. And though we may not ever see a lot of the lines we would like to see, and certainly not to direct dollars the way our customers purchase so personally, even when it's on the website, we don't know where they're coming from. Some of what's on the website is with the salesperson standing right there with them, honestly, in our company. So we just try to keep supporting them in the ways that are meaningful to them, that keeps them, engaged in selling and with the right tools in their hands. And they're doing a great job. So we take credit for that too.
Yeah. And I think, look, I discovered the same thing when I was an operator, which is that when the salespeople are saying, or when the salespeople are telling the CEO and the CFO, wow, marketing is a really important part of my success, and thanks to marketing, I'm able to sell more. Man, that makes up for a lot of measurement gap, right? If they're saying that. Anyway, Susan, you started us off on this conversation, but do you want to wrap us up too?
About measuring?
Yeah.
I think the bigger the company, the harder it's going to be to measure because the customer base is just too large.
Yeah.
If it's a smaller company or a bigger product, you can do a little bit more targeting. For example, in my book, I have an example of an electrical distributor, large, that ran an email campaign to existing customers selling, I can't remember what they called it, but it's a Rockwell automation, maybe a $50,000, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 product line. And they built out this funnel that started with an email. Now, this is an existing customer. Emails go out to the existing customers. One of the customers that buys a totally different line decides to open it up. He comes in, he's looking for safety equipment. He goes deeper and deeper and deeper into their website. They're tracking everything because they have the tracking in place. They're using a good CRM and marketing automation. And their marketing automation shoots the salesperson an notification saying, Joe Smith is looking at this product line. You should probably give him a call.
Yeah.
And so now Joe Smith has a great lead. He's happy. We know it came from the marketing campaign because we can track it. And that can't just be marketing's effort. It has to be a collaboration of marketing and sales, because marketing has to plan out that funnel according to what sales dictates is going to work. So that's a way that we can measure, okay, that sale, we can attribute it to marketing. And every time someone goes through that funnel, we can attribute it to marketing. Sales still has to close the deal, but we may get to the point someday where, if we're paying on commission, we have to reevaluate marketing's salaries and whether they get a piece of that because they contributed so much to the sale. That's an aside.
Yeah.
Another example I can give you, I have a client that is a truck parts distributor, and they also sell tankers. It's a small arm of the business. And so every tanker they sell is 90,000, 100,000, 120, depending used, new. And we made just some slight changes to a landing page on their website. And all of a sudden, all these leads started coming in. And it made a huge difference because every one of those sales is a lot of money. So even if they had like 10 leads in the week and they closed one, it's a home run. And that was because of marketing. But that's a very small distributor with a very big product. So hopefully that shed some light.
Yeah, I think, what you're talking about, where the marketing automation platform is sending emails to notify sales reps that one of their customers is looking at something on the website. I mean, in the consumer world, we wouldn't think of that as very sophisticated. It's actually unusual and more sophisticated than most distributors are, but it's kind of a no-brainer, particularly in a market where the customer is not likely to execute the purchase online. So you're not going to know if you don't notify the sales rep proactively with technology that the customer is looking at the product. You're not going to know, even if they buy it, that the campaign generated it, right? But Sheila, I want to go back over to you because we have Adam who's asking about, really in a broad sense, collaboration between suppliers and distributors when it comes to marketing, right? So there's data that you can share, and there's the perennial battle about how much data to share and what you can disclose and what the agreement is in terms of who sees what, whether it's POS or whatever.
Yeah.
But what is the best practice in your long experience working with suppliers and in marketing about how do you get the agreement and the data sharing and the planning right between suppliers and distributors to optimize the marketing outcome?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll take some recent examples. So, we're very focused on digital marketing right now. That's where we're throwing most of our resources and our time and our energy. And it's really interesting where the industry is at. We have some of our manufacturers or suppliers that are very sophisticated in this. And sometimes it's not even the ones that you would think that it is. They've got digital marketing teams. We're partnering with them. They're helping us learn faster using their experience. And then we have some that are in the very same product line that are like, nope, we don't even want to let you use your co-op for it.
Yeah, right.
Because, we don't believe in it. And so I think, what we've been doing is looking, first of all, at our strategic partners. And then, the ones that really have some advanced knowledge or experience with this and utilizing that to help us grow faster. And then the ones that don't, because they're still important to us, then like we had one that said, we're not very good at this, but we really like what you're doing. So we're going to give you some extra co-op money to do it because we think it's so important. And even though we're not very good at it, we think it's important. And then from there, it's really, okay, what do we want to focus on? What's the campaign look like? Who do we want to target? And what are we going to do with that, when it comes in? So that's just some examples of how we're partnering with our suppliers around marketing specifically.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. And Cynthia, I'm going to get to you in a second, but I do have a follow-up question that's directed at Susan, I believe, which Brian wants to know. Any suggestion on what platforms to put in place to automate the process of notifying sales reps about
Sure.
who's shopping on the website? And this is to all three panelists, if you know of a platform that does that well.
Pretty much every platform does that now. That is, I would say, there's mega platforms where you're spending thousands of dollars every month. They do it, of course, because they do everything, but you don't need that. It depends on the distributor. It depends on their budget. It depends on who's on the team that can manage it. So I can't speak to any one, but the technology has gone so far that they're all really good at that. It just depends, you have to have it customized to your needs. Plug for the sponsor, White Cup does it, and they're good at it from last time I looked. So yeah, if someone has questions about their particular distributorship, I can definitely rattle off a bunch.
Sheila, Cynthia, are you using technology to do that? And if so, do you have, or whether or not you do you have a recommendation?
We're working now on connecting our Optimizely platforms with Microsoft Dynamics.
Okay.
Dynamics is what's going to touch the sales team, where Optimizely is what we're running through the website. And we're making those connections now. So it's going to be amazing for them when we can get them that information.
Great. And Sheila, anything to add to that?
Yeah, so we have some tools, and then we're actually putting in the budget. We've had some tools, and then we've been doing some manual on top of that. So putting into the budget for next year some tools to take away some of the manual. I will give a plug for, DSG's analytics program, because we do use that. And that has been something that has really helped us with, particularly on looking at existing customers, wallet size, gap analysis, and some of the targeting that we're doing. So that is a product that we've been using pretty extensively.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. I know you guys are fairly new to that product. Yeah. I mean, when I think about marketing automation, I think about, Acton and HubSpot and Pardot, which I think is owned by Salesforce now, I think. So there are countless out there. And I know Whitecup has a very, very good BI tool, but I don't know if it does that, notify someone who's looking at circuit breakers on your site, notify the sales rep that their customer prospects looking at circuit breakers on the site. I don't know, but
It's their CRM piece that does that.
It's the CRM piece that does that. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Awesome. Okay, good. So it's good. It's good to know that. And I'm glad you did, since I probably should. Okay, good. So I know we're heading towards wrapping up. So let me create a bit of a open discussion forum here. So for each of you, when you see the title of this, webinar, using marketing to drive sales and distribution companies, what have we left out that the audience should think about or learn more about?
So I don't know that it's so much that it was left out, but the big shift for us in the last couple of years has been from the traditional marketing to truly marketing being a revenue engine, a revenue generation. And what can marketing do to not only enable growth, but to create growth? And that's a difference to, we're going to support the growth versus we're going to have specific objectives that we're trying to hit around what did we do to generate revenue and to generate growth. And that's a big shift. That's a change that I think distribution typically hasn't done a lot of that historically, but I do think that's changing, and it's definitely changed for us.
Right. So there's higher expectations and greater accountability, it sounds like, right? And more demand for measurement.
Yeah, absolutely. And then as a part of that is, you only have so many resources, right? So what are you going to do and what are you not going to do? And stopping, not because there isn't value, but just because of change in focus. A lot of those things that we typically did for a long time over the years that were a lot about existing customers, and that's great. And I enjoyed it and thought we had a lot of value there. But how are we truly going to do something that's going to drive new customers and new revenue? And so changing the focus, and then what does that change in how we're doing our job, how we're measuring, what the metrics are, all of those types of things.
Yeah, well, it's working, right? I mean, you're growing fast. Okay, so Cynthia, what did we leave out, or what do we need to add to the mix of conversation for this audience?
I don't think we left it out, but for us, far and away, the relationship aspect is, and despite all the data, all the tools that are coming our way, we are going to keep focusing on our customers as a person, and each person, even though it's B2B, we're talking to people, and they're used to being talked to in a way of being talked to by people who know them, right? And our people in the field do that, and we're more and more able to support them from marketing in those efforts in the field, and to reinforce that with what we're telling them, from our other channels. I think the more tools we have and the more information we have about them, the better we can build those relationships. And again, partnering with sales on that side as well to understand what they need, because our sales teams are talking to different pieces of the puzzle, if they're new customers, or if they're in a new area, or if they're in an established area, or if they're talking to renovation customers or the national account management side. Those are all different messaging, and partnering with them as our customers to give them the tools and the messaging that they need to do even better than they've been doing, and to reach new customers, but to keep fostering those relationships. We have more tools every day to help them do that.
That's fantastic. Good. Thank you. Susan, you want to take us home before we talk about upcoming events?
My favorite subject. A couple of things. The immediate that comes to mind is, quote I hear from our good friend Mike Marks a lot: do not try to boil the ocean. And after this call, I'm again There's so much information and you can't do it all. You can't even do half of it. This is a journey. It's, or maybe it's a destination, but the destination is always going to move because we're talking about technology. I think the most important thing is to remember the salespeople. That's who's generating the income, and to have a marketing team that does everything it possibly can to support the sale. That's not to say that, and I think I wrote about this on LinkedIn yesterday, you still have to have the events, you still have to make the flyers, you still have to send out the emails, but there's a whole, plethora of other things that marketing folks can do to support those salespeople. I talked about it before about generating leads and nurturing leads, but it has to be a full collaboration. And once that's done, and some people call it sales enablement, it's like the first couple of steps of sales enablement, not the managing part, but generating the content and all of that, getting the right tools in place. Don't buy any tools until you know what you need. That's probably my most valuable advice, because don't put the cart before the horse. Wait and see what you need. Get some goals in place, get some meetings. If you don't know what you're doing, give me a call. I have plenty of case studies that I can share with you. Look at what Summit's doing. Always the company that I point to. If you go, perfect example, if you go to Summit's website right now, when you first get there, it takes you on 2 journeys. One is solutions. I can't remember what the other one is. That's probably another really good point, is market your solutions. If they're not making money for you, find a way to make money with them and then market them again. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, well, I think it is, and look, between Chadwell and Summit, we've got 2 of the most successful distribution companies in the United States right now, and 2 fantastic marketing leaders who I think very well illustrate what you're talking about, Susan. So it's been a great panel. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap it up. I will ask the audience to hold on with me for 1 more minute while I talk about upcoming events. On December 7th, we have our annual presentation of what customers want. This is all about offering a great customer experience online and offline. This is research-based. This will be done by Jonathan Bine, who's been doing it for years. It's really important work. And because what customers are expecting is changing so rapidly right now, it's important to see the latest research to find out what it is that they're looking for from you as a distributor. That's brought to you by our friends at Epicor, and again, our friends at White Cup. On December 13th, we're delighted to welcome back to the Wholesale Change Show, Kevin Wadick. Kevin used to be the CEO, or the president, at Zorro, the Grainger division. He's now the CEO at Fleet Pride. So he's back in a large branch-based, but also omni-channel distributor. So he'll talk a little bit about his career and what it's like to change industries and business structures again. That's also sponsored by White Cup, and this is sponsored by Enable as well. However, for now, let me say thank you so much to Cynthia, Sheila, and Susan. You 3 were amazing. I enjoyed the discussion, and we've got a lot of really good engagement from the audience. So thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. All right, great. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you next time on a Distribution Strategy Group program. Until then, be well and sell a lot of stuff. Bye now.